Do you have any interesting babysitter stories?
And long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars toys began. And Kenner continues the excitement.
The Empire Strikes Back collection.
El regreso del Jedi.
Welcome to the Star Wars Collectors Archive podcast. It's Kivecast.
Was Death Star Space Station the snap-open space hatch?
Sometimes known as the Vintage Pod.
Wow, what a weird place!
A monthly audio magazine dedicated to vintage Star Wars toys and memorabilia. Hosted by Skye Hud,
Chewbacca's good too!
and Stephen B. Denley.
B-Wing fighters and B-Wing pilot action, B-Wing pilot action, B-Wing pilot action, B-Wing pilot action.
Market data mined by Brisbane Mike.
Luke Skywalker handles his saber well.
And Fantastic Pete.
Boba Fett has a see-through helmet.
Tech support by the Road.
On this month's Kivecast, Skye and Steve talk about the Radar Boy, Rebel Soldier, with his biggest fan, Broc Walker. We react to Rancho's renewed reign. We talk about uncirculated glue and Gentle Giant's continued awesomeness. Brock tells us what a Repro 10 hard copy is, and we contemplate how to make a Womans Day Hoth set with the Personnel Launcher. We have a new debate D8 about un-American toys, and our market watches POTF and Rebel Soldiers. All this and half as much on the Kivecast Vintage Pod. Wampa Wampa, Space Freaks.
Welcome to Kivecast number 44.
Yeah, number 44. You know, we wrote on our notes number 43.
I did, yeah, that was my mistake. I kind of realized we were one off there.
Well, you know, I'm really proud of us, Steve, because we actually technically have never missed a month of recording.
That's true.
So, because we did a double with Celebration 7, and because we're recording 2 here in September, we're still intact, no pod fading here.
No, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, it was good. I was looking through all the feedback, all the forums. I didn't notice that all the comments on 42 just became, when's the new one coming out?
Yeah.
Which, to tell you the truth, that makes me a lot happier than it does stressed out.
Yeah, no, it was a good feeling to feel the need.
Yeah, and we got a ton of feedback, so in the event that you send us an email, there's a good chance we'll be able to address it at the end, unless I missed it in my inbox, in which case, don't take it personal. But yeah, no, it's really fun to be recording again, getting back with the figure.
Yeah.
And two, I think I told you this, Steve, but on episode number 42, I wanted to figure out how many hours I spend on each Kivecast episode.
Were you able to get a ballpark estimate?
Yeah, the ballpark figure is about 15 hours.
Man.
So that's just it's not that much when you consider it's just 15 hours a month or whatever. But when I sometimes think, like, boy, I don't post as much as I used to, and, you know, I'm not up on all the Facebook groups and all this, I'm like, is my hobby involvement dwindling? It's like, I never used to spend 15 hours a month thinking about this stuff.
No, it's true. It's totally true.
And Steve, your amount's going up too, eh?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I mean, I'm in a sense not having to worry about school. Kind of gives me that time to carve out to put into the show, but I still feel like that's my main hobby outlet, which I'm happy about. It makes me happy, and hopefully it makes others happy. So.
Yeah, and this month you're kind of the driver. It's cool because usually I come up with the outline and send it out, but Steve actually sent out the outline, and it's cool. It's very appreciated because it's still been a crazy month.
No, I still feel like I'm adjusting to real life after Seattle, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that we recorded our kind of post thoughts on that only a couple weeks ago, so it's still recovery mode for me.
Yeah, you know what happened to me, Steve?
Huh.
I got, like, insanely depressed after getting back from Seattle.
Oh, no.
And, I mean, I think obviously a little bit of it is, you know, the kind of crazy upheavals that have been going on in my life and all that.
Yeah.
And just the stress of my job and all that. But I think some of it was just that it's hard to experience something so overwhelmingly great.
No, that's true.
And then kind of come back from it.
Yeah, and on that note, like, I can kind of feel the same way, but then when I heard the episode and I heard Chris's recording, that kind of pumped me up again. It felt like it was a nice, I don't know, it was like I think I made a comment on the forums, it's like an audio postcard, and it really made me feel like I was there, and in that sense it was kind of a recharger.
Yeah, you know what's great? I still haven't emailed Chris to say that I listened to it and that I liked it.
It is published. It is out there.
It's published. I'm sure he's listened to it, but he's... I'm such an unsatisfying friend. It's terrible. Anyways, well, we're talking about the rebel guy. So actually, I have the card back in front of me to make sure I don't call him the wrong thing.
Okay.
It is the rebel soldier, yeah?
Right?
And there's also a rebel commander?
Yes, there's a rebel commander that came out a little bit later, and then even then there was a rebel commando. So
right.
I can see the confusion.
And that was the guy. That was the green guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you'll hear the Skyku later. I try to sort of help myself figure out which one is which. But yeah. Well, good. Well, I think we could go to the... No, forget it, Steve. I'm going to go too far. So...
Do it. Let's just have at it.
Yeah, let's just have at it. 'Cause we're going to call Broc soon, who's the world expert in the Rebel Soldier. Yeah. And I realize that Star Wars has completely changed the way most people approach world politics.
Ooh. Oh, man. Here we go.
And especially my kids, because, we'll be listening to the news... And it'll be like, and the rebels in Syria did this and that and that. And it's like, oh, those are the good guys. Like,
oh, yeah.
Well,
well,
you see, definitely the people in power are the bad guys, but the rebels are also probably bad guys too. So, or whatever's happening in Mali, which is a little bit less reported. But the rebels in that case are definitely closer in line to what we conceive to be a bad guy. Of course, this is geopolitical stuff, which goes way beyond my comprehension. But it's just funny that we're sort of constantly on that thing of just like, oh, they're the rebels, they're good.
It's funny on a similar note. My dad he still is a huge Civil War buff, and when I was younger, he used to actually do reenactments and stuff. And being a Star Wars kid, seeing my dad go dress up for both sides or whatever. So wait, you're the rebels this time, but you're. It was very confusing. It kind of represents the confusion over that. It's just funny.
Yeah, that's true, and especially with the Civil War. Being the Northerner that I am, it was like, wait, so the rebels are the bad guys, but the rebels are the good guys. I don't get it, but anyways, at some point I have a much deeper movie thought about the nature of rebellion.
Ooh, okay.
But that's not for today, because my movie thought is actually pretty simple, Steve.
Okay, all right.
This actually still rings in from the viewing of Return of the Jedi.
Ooh, all right.
And the great thing is just the weird little plot holes, right? And there's things that you see that are awesome and great. But then if you think about them 1 extra second that I hadn't done for my 36 years on this planet. Yep. So they're up there, and they're on the trees, and then, oh, cool, they get on the vines, and then they swing across. Mm-hmm. So what happened to all the people who were tied up to the stick, who were upside down? Did C-3PO, was he able to hold on to the vine and swing across? How would, Ewoks be able to, handle that much velocity and weight on the other side?
Oh, man.
I mean,
what we're probably going to get in a couple years is a special edition added scene where they explain that, because that's what, that's what the special editions are for. It's explaining everything.
Or just a really long scene of them trying to go down the tree and then up the other tree,
hoisting him down and pulling him up. No, it'll happen. Just mark my words.
Yeah, it will. That was fun trying to imagine C-3PO on a vine swinging across.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially when you think of the vintage figure, just totally unable to hold anything.
Can't grasp anything at all. Yeah, that's funny. Movie inconsistencies is kind of on my movie thought too, with the Rebel Soldier in particular. One of the only ones that actually has a speaking part. That guy who calls in the message that the walkers are there. My babysitter back when I was a kid pointed out to me that these guys were Norwegians, right? So they probably didn't speak English. So when he says his line or whatever, she said, "Look how dubbed that is." And so whenever I see it, I just can't help but think that's some Norwegian trying to speak English when it's just a clear overdub.
Wow, I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, I watched it just tonight just to see if it was as over dramatic as I remembered it, and it's not quite as bad as I remembered, but it's there. So it's just kind of funny.
What kind of awesome babysitter did you have?
No, she was a movie buff, total movie buff. She also was she collected vintage Star Wars a bit. So that's a story for another bit. That was kind of a big influence on me. So yeah, no, that was one thing I took from that scene. Like, man, that guy, he's not American.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my babysitter was this, like, somewhat psychotic New York City taxi cab driver.
Oh, man, see, that sounds like a movie.
Yeah, every time I'd get in the car, he'd go, don't touch the upholstery. And so, like, I couldn't put my feet up, and he'd just kind of drive around. And he bragged to me that Janis Joplin once tried to sleep with him, but he turned her down.
That's
And
interesting.
he looks a lot like Gary Carter, if you're familiar with the catcher for the Expos.
Yes.
And then later the Mets.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's babysitting stories with Skye and Steve. Now, Steve,
There's no limits, man.
there's no limits. You know, that's what people like. So, do you have any kind of figure thoughts, Steve?
Well, this is kind of, it relates to my general Star Wars childhood in that I didn't have any Luke Skywalker figures. So I did have a Rebel Soldier, so he kind of served as my Hoth Luke, whereas the B-Wing pilot was my pilot Luke. And I had my brother's old Tauntaun that was, had nothing, so it was just a bareback Rebel Soldier playing in the sandbox. That was my figure thought, I guess. But that's just one of those things where you can use these kind of nameless soldiers and then make them whoever you want. And for me, it was Luke. So
Ha! So there you go, Mr. Santa Barbara. Mr. I live in a town that used to play the original trilogy every 3 years, and I live 5 minutes from the beach and from the ocean. You didn't have good snow place. So,
No. We had a white sandbox, and that was hot.
yeah, well, we're actually going to help you out later in the episode figure out exactly how to recreate Hoth
Yes.
in an excellent way. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I think then we got... But, Steve, sometimes it feels like we go from feature to feature. But
Sometimes, but
But then we've also interrupted it with babysitting stories.
That's true.
And so... feet off the upholstery.
Yeah, exactly. It's
How
just
But one time he, we were driving to this, weird museum of natural history, which if you're from Boston, you can tell me if you've ever been to this place, because I don't really remember it hardly at all. It was just this weird thing, and I was sleeping in the back, and he got pulled over by the police, and they asked me, "Do you know this man?" And I remember thinking very concretely, it would be hilarious if I said no.
yeah.
But just something in me just said, yes, and you let him go. And if I had said no, I think my entire
your life's path would be totally different.
Totally, because I would have had a different thought about lying and jokes and humor, and it would have been really traumatizing, and the police would have had to come, and yeah.
Oh man, the things that could happen.
Yeah, things that could happen.
Yeah.
All right, Steve. So should we Sky Coup or flip the script? What do you think the audience is asking for?
I think they like the Sky Coups better, so we'll feed that need first.
Okay. All right. So we'll go with the character first.
Okay. All right.
So this is the actual character of the Rebel Soldier.
Okay.
In compacted snow, beneath the metal crush foot, Rebel Soldier lays.
Awesome.
And here it is for the toy.
Okay.
Goggles fixed on head. Quilted fabric in plastic. Radar boy soldier. So that's how I know
stuff.
him now, is the radar boy. That's how I'm going to
yeah.
keep the difference between him and the commander.
Yeah.
Commander's got the mustache like Cliff
Yep.
Clavin, and
Yep.
you have to have a mustache to be a commander, and he's radar boy. Because he's standing in front of the radar gun.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good call. It's funny. I almost thought you were going to have a Sky Coup about that one poor soldier that gets gunned down by the Walker. Do you remember that guy?
Oh,
They're
yeah,
kind of running
yeah.
away. He's just the one guy that gets taken out. He deserves maybe a longer form poem. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that guy he got screwed. They're all running away, and for whatever reason they picked him out to just get shot. That wasn't cool.
Yeah, though I bet if you were one of the extras, you'd want to be that, who wasn't seen. But that was me. That was definitely
the
me.
guy that flies and dies. And that's the one you do want to be as an extra. That's true.
And same thing with the Ewok who got killed.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It seems like the Ewok gets so much more talk and recognition, but that poor soldier, man, he just—it's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Cool. Then I guess you can flip your script.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's getting really, really hot in here.
Flip the script.
All right, so we're keeping with the Hoth theme. It's not Rebel Soldier theme, but it's Hoth. Sometimes script pages just kind of read funny, or lines read funny, and definitely with Star Wars, I think Harrison Ford always had that famous quote about reading it and not being able to say it. But from that scene where the first transport's trying to escape Hoth, and the ion cannon's getting fired, the controller just says, "Fire the big gun." And I wish that was in there still, because it's so much more militaristic and formalized in the final movie. But I imagine this guy sitting behind this computer panel saying, "Fire the big gun," and pressing a button.
Yeah, it sounds like a line from Spaceballs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Spaceballs was like 4 or 5 years down the line, so.
Right, fire the big gun. That's great. Oh, I like that, Steve.
That was good.
Awesome. All right. Well, this is about as much as you are allowed to talk about the Rebel Soldier without contacting Broc.
That's true.
All day, all night, you feel my heat. Feel my heat. I think we should repeat that again. Feel my heat. Feel my heat.
All right.
Let's lay it down. Nick?
You want to lay down?
Were you rolling on the rehearsal?
Hello.
Is this Broc Walker?
It is.
Hey, what's up, man? We are already recording here on the Kivecast.
Already recording. Awesome.
We've talked about the Rebel Soldier for like 5 minutes, and we couldn't talk anymore without talking to you, Broc.
Well, it's glad to think that somebody actually think it deserves more than 5 minutes.
Oh, he definitely does. I mean, it's so cool that, like, you know, the guy from Cheers got his own. Oh wait, no, wait, which one? No, this is Radar Boy. Okay, the Radar Boy got his own. That's what I'm calling him now, Broc. I'm calling him Radar Boy. What do you think?
He's Radar Boy.
Yeah, and then it makes me think of Radar from MASH, because he does look like awfully young, doesn't he? Have you actually looked at him on the card back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure they enlisted early like they do in, you know, most intergalactic armies, right?
Right, yeah. So, did we talk, Broc, last time? Well, I mean, we've spoken to you, I don't know, 15 times. But when we did our official interview, did we ever talk to you about why you chose to be a Rebel Soldier collector?
I believe maybe in one of the very early shows when the podcast first started. But I'd be happy to story again. I mean, it's not anything too lengthy. Basically, whenever I was a kid, for whatever reason, it was my favorite action figure. I don't know. You know, I was really young when I got it. You know, when it came out, I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I'm not sure if I thought it was Luke or if I just thought it was a cool outfit or exactly what it was, but it was the figure I packed around with me everywhere I went. And every Sunday, I was allowed to carry one toy to church with me to keep me occupied when I was sitting in the pew or whatever, so I didn't disturb anybody else, and it was always one I chose. And, you know, I probably went through, I don't know how many of them as a kid, because I just kept, you know, knocking heads off them or whatever, and it's just the one action figure from my childhood that sticks out more than anything. And so whenever I decided I was going to focus on a character, it was just the natural choice.
That's awesome. You know, I do now remember you telling that, but that's definitely a story that bears being repeated once every 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, you consider doing main characters, you know, or whatever, and because, I mean, obviously there's characters in the film that I like more than that particular character. But when it comes down to it, I collect the toys because of the toys, not because of the movies. I've told this Steve on countless occasions that, you know, while I love the movies, it's not the reason I necessarily collect the toys. They were a big part of my childhood, and when I look back on it, it's that and then other lame characters from Jedi, you know,
Right.
when we move forward that I tend to collect. So, I mean, my Star Wars room is full of lameness when it comes to character collections.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, have you gone to church as an adult with a Rebel Soldier?
If you count the one that's tattooed on my arm, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that counts.
Well, I think you should, do that again. I think you might actually honestly have a spiritual experience, like this kind of physical totem, to like a younger time, now that you're old enough to sort of understand the mysteries of the Eucharist and all that. You can still have the Rebel Soldier with you.
There you go, absolutely. And I definitely need something to keep me occupied so I don't bother the other people.
Oh, yeah. No, it's funny because I've actually started going back to church recently, and I treat it like a class. Like I bring a notebook and I take notes on the sermon and like what are the hymns about and the whole thing, and everyone just kind of stares at me like I'm some kind of alien. But maybe I should bring a Chewy in with me. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that can help me. I don't know, Steve. I guess we can't talk about the Eucharist, right? That's like...
Well...
it's better than talking about the Bob Eucharist, so... Is that the worst joke I've ever made, Steve?
We're getting close.
Yeah, we're getting close. Awesome. Well, I think that was... What happens is, Broc, is that when we do the bring the person in, then sometimes I never know when to actually put the drop in. So that was my attempt at coming up with a spacer in between bringing in Broc and the drop for news. So what we'll do here is I won't actually hit stop, but I will insert a couple seconds of... Did you know, Steve, that people like the news drop?
Yeah, man, that's a good thing.
When I changed it for a while, people got upset.
No, it was always one of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess in those 15 hours, I don't do a lot of consulting with Steve.
Watch out!
It's Kenner's News. It's Kenner's News. It's Kenner's News.
Here's the news. It's Kenner's news. From Kenner.
So, Broc, we don't have a ton of news here. We just recorded pretty recently at ICE. Did you get a chance to listen to our ICE coverage yet?
Not as of yet. I've been super busy since I got back home. I've got it downloaded, but I've not had a chance to actually check it out.
Well, that's cool. That's just as good. Was Broc even on it, Steve?
I don't know. Did you ever come into the Stitch Room, Broc?
No, I didn't do any recording while I was there at all.
Oh, you were. That's right, because we were going to do the Rebel Soldier stuff there, but we decided it would be better to just keep it on its own. That's right.
Yeah. The whole, hey, we're going to get together and we're going to record something. It's really hard to do.
It was really hard.
You want to kind of hang out and talk, and you don't really want to like do all that. But Steve, actually, I'm going to sort of jump all over your notes and talk about something that wasn't even on your notes.
Yeah.
So Broc, are you going to get the Gentle Giant 12-inch Rebel Soldier?
Yeah, I think I kind of have to. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go on displays. May end up in my, in Bronx's room, more so than mine. But I definitely, once I actually seen pictures of the final product the other day, I posted over Facebook that I'm pretty much become a fanboy. So, I definitely see. This is how bad it is. So I'm not even sure. Do those things open up so you can get to the figure and seal it back without messing up anything, or is it you open it, it's open?
No, you got to open it.
Okay.
I got to
to
pick up a second Chewy at some point.
Yeah.
See, I'm thinking I might just have to open this and play with it, and I just maybe that'll go to church with me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I can just set that in the pew right next to me.
Yeah.
That wouldn't look odd at all.
Yeah.
Very conspicuous.
I mean, if it's big enough, you could probably take it to Sunday school and drop it off.
Probably.
I definitely got to get one though, for sure.
Yeah, those
I've held
things
off
are
until now. I've not bought one. I got close to buying R5D4, but I talked myself out of it because I'm afraid to complete this in me would, make me have to start buying them all, and I don't have the space nor desire really to have all of them. So I've held off until now, but I can't pass this up.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that, and I'm guilty of this too, but as vintage collectors, the idea that we don't buy every single one of these is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because nothing is a better tribute to the toys that we say we love more than the actual thing in a totally different scale that's just pure appreciation of the vintage sculpt. It's like, it's so cool. And yet we don't get them because it's like $80. I don't know.
We don't balk whenever it comes to buying proof cards and chromolins and first shots and everything else. We just shell that money out left and right.
Yeah. But then that leads me to the other big news item, Steve, which I can't believe you didn't put on your news list.
What's that?
The 6-foot stormtrooper.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was just thinking about that when you're mentioning this guy. So
Yeah. So you guys have both seen this, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it's a 6-foot recreation of the Kenner stormtrooper figure.
Right.
And it's $2,300. But I still don't understand why people think there's anything wrong with this. What is your point against it, Steve? Why do you not like it?
No, it's not that I don't like it. It's just that funny thing where you don't want to you don't want to pay that much for something new. It's just funny. It doesn't work. It doesn't work logically in a lot of ways, but
now, are you against it too, Brock?
I'm not against the item itself, but I am kind of against the price. I think that seems a little outlandish for that particular item. You know, maybe half that price, especially if they were to make something, you know, that would be an R5D4 I could get behind. You know, give me a 4-foot R5D4 for half the price, and I would strongly consider it. But Stormtrooper at $2,300, I'm just not sold on it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we have in our house, Steve, you actually, I think you've seen this, was when we moved to Santa Barbara in 2004, there used to be a toy store downtown. What was it called, Steve?
Are you talking about Tom's Toys?
Yeah, Tom's Toys.
Yeah.
And it was this huge, like, 2-story toy store, the kind of place that's awesome and can't exist in a place where rent is as high as it is in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, it's long gone now.
That's my second diss on Santa Barbara, Steve. But they had the giant Playmobil display figures in front.
Oh, cool. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
But like the 4-foot tall display figures. And the only one they had was like the modern version of the girl with like a ponytail. And as everyone knows, Lobart is a huge Playmobil collector. So like, how much for the 4-foot Playmobil girl in the window? And it was $100. So
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, and I just popped down $100 and I got it, and I walked all the way up State Street with this giant thing on my shoulders because there's no other way to carry it, and my car was 6 blocks away. And every single time someone goes, "Hey, nice Lego," which is great because for Playmobil collectors, calling Playmobil Lego is like calling Star Trek Star Wars and vice versa.
Yeah, that's.
So I gave that to Bart, and then the next week there was another one in the window, the exact same figure. So I bought that one, and that one is now in my daughter's room. So I'm totally in favor of these giant toys, and if they make a Chewbacca, I'm absolutely buying it the day it comes out, no matter what it costs. You know, if I have to sell a proof card to get it, I will. I mean, that's to me like when we were in Seattle at the Death Star Theater, you know, Vic and Lisa's place. They had that. Darth Vader samurai thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember that came out thinking it was too expensive. That thing is so awesome. You know, that was one not to pass up on. And so that's my pitch. I am all in favor of the 6-foot ones, and I hope it works out.
I mean, do we have any clue if they're going to be making more, or is this a test run, or is this just a kind of a one-and-done thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, I wasn't sure about that either.
Yeah, I haven't read any information, you know, that's really leading me to believe that there's more on the way, but it seems kind of pointless to only do one. And if you want to do one, why wouldn't you choose Vader first?
Yeah. Well, maybe because it cost more to try and figure out the saber mechanism. But how cool would that be, having a life-size Vader telescoping lightsaber? Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do more. And that was the other one. Remember at Jordan's booth, you know, Hollywood Heroes from the TV show Toy Hunters. Toy Hunter or Toy Hunters?
Toy Hunter, I believe.
Toy Hunter. We don't have cable. Did I mention that every week? He had a life-size yak face. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the story with that?
I believe he had it made just because he wanted something really neat, you know, to keep at his booth at various shows or whatever. But another interesting tidbit about it is in Orlando during, I guess, the travel to the convention at Celebration 5, the hand got destroyed somehow or damaged until it broke or whatever, and he had one Scott McWilliams actually cast the hand and make it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
On site and actually repair it, which kind of led, a whole nother path of, avenues to go down with everything that was involved with all that mess. So, he pretty much put his capabilities on display right there, literally.
Right. So for those of you who haven't been paying attention, Scott McWilliams is the author of the famous Green Harvest scandal of fake hard copies, and that's pretty. That's amazing.
Well, at least that's the story I heard while I was there. I did not see that happen with my own eyes, but that was what I was told before the show started by.
No, it's official now. It's official. That's what happened. The most famous fraudster in the history of the hobby made Yak Face's left hand for Jordan. That's perfect. All right, Steve, what's next on the news then, after I've jumped all over your wonderful preparation?
No, not jumping over it. It's stuff that I should have put in there. But you got an email, or you sent me an email the other day asking about a hockey league, which I guess it's official now, right? It's the real deal. We
have an official hockey league for the Kivecast. It's not for Rebel Scum, it's for the Kivecast. I, of course, invited Brock, and he didn't answer. I know he doesn't like hockey. But this is my question for you, Brock. Do you think it's possible for Steve to do worse in hockey? Right? He can only do as well, right? Like, you can't finish worse than last, right, Brock?
Yeah, I think that since he doesn't know anything about hockey, he might actually have a fighting chance at doing better.
That's my thought as well. Like, the fact that I know nothing at all about it, I might just get lucky.
Yeah. That'll be fun. So we'll, for all of you listeners who thought that the torture was over,
it is not.
We're going to get Steve to become a real hockey head. I don't see that happening. But that's fun because Brock is the longtime commissioner of the baseball league, sort of the leader of that pack. So I'm sort of trying to be the Brock of hockey,
branching off and getting your own pack.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the Brocky.
It only gets better.
Yeah, that was almost as good as my Bob Eucharist. Steve, do you even know who Bob Euchre is?
Yes, I'm just about to die laughing. I'm really holding it back right now, just to let you know.
Good. Because most people like your generation, like Bob Euchre, was really famous when Brock and I were kids, but probably by the time you were older, he wasn't as famous.
But was he a better catcher, or was he better on Mr. Belvedere? That's the bigger question.
Yeah, that's true.
That is that's an important question.
I forgot that was him and Mr. Belvedere. Can we do a Mr. Belvedere podcast?
Sidebar Belvedere? Yeah, I'm all
sideshow. That's the most I've ever laughed at a joke. All right, fine, it's already happening, guys. The most I've ever laughed, I laughed for probably about a half an hour. There was a joke where Mr. Belvedere was watching The Wheel of Fortune by himself, and the person says, "I'd like to buy an apostrophe." And Mr. Belvedere goes, "You can't buy an apostrophe, you twit." And I don't know what it was, but I laughed for like a half an hour. Like, I could not stop laughing at that.
Oh, Lord.
That's good. So, what else important news in Star Wars has there been, Steve?
Well, this is on a totally unrelated subject. Someone just got the world record, the Guinness World Record for the biggest Star Wars collection, and it wasn't one of the two collections that we were visiting in Seattle. It was Sansweet's Rancho Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It's a big announcement recently. It's crazy that it didn't happen sooner to me, I guess. I don't know who held it before him. But.
Oh, you don't?
Wait a minute. No, it was, what's the guy's name?
Hopefully Brock knows more.
Jason Joyner, I believe.
That's right.
That's the guy that previously held it?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
And he was somebody in England, right?
I believe so. I'm not real familiar with Jason.
And I'm pretty sure he just said, "Hey, I've got the biggest Star Wars collection," and they just said, "Okay." And he's had that record for years. As far as I could tell, I remember when I got into vintage, almost a decade ago, and I remember looking it up in the Guinness Book of World Records thinking, wow, this Jason Joyner guy must be a really big deal. And then every time I brought him up, people would kind of laugh. Maybe he listens.
Yeah, you never know.
That would be a good interview, right? Because he's been the mysterious #1 collector for a long time.
Wasn't it listed as something like 20,000 items? For him being a big collector, and then I don't know. Since we had something like 14 times that amount or something.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, and they're having sort of like the big festival out at Rancho Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I think they're having an official party about the award, so it's going to be good. And
are you going to that, Steve?
No, I wish. Not going to that, but hopefully this is our little segue here. Hopefully the Collectors Club in California is still alive. It still exists, sort of. But we're going to try and get another group up there in December. So it'll be past the big Guinness World Record celebration, but we're hopefully going to get up there again.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You've had a collector club that was at your last meeting. Was up there?
It was. Yeah. Well, no. It's not. That's not true. We had one on May 4th. It was a small one, but it was at David Carr's down in Orange County. So we've still been doing the alternate NorCal, SoCal thing, but no, we're going to try and get some people up there again this December.
Now, Brock, why don't you have a Kentucky club?
I believe we do have a Kentucky club. The last time I checked, it was like for 501st members and some other things, and I think I was invited once several years ago, and it just never worked out. So I'm not even sure where it. I want to say it's basically based around the Louisville and Lexington area, which is probably like 3 to 4 hours from here, and I've never ran into it. I'd be happy to be part of one, especially if there was a vintage, contingent that I could get involved with, but, I've never, been privy to such meetings, so. And I don't know that I have the leadership skills of, Steve or yourself in order to carry it forward, so.
Yeah, well, neither do we, which is nice.
Yeah, no, we can never live up to Sarlacc. That kind of put me to shame. Those guys are great.
Yeah. Well, there's also the Kentucky Escape podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
And you should listen to them, because it's all about Kentucky and Star Wars collecting. And we maybe accidentally stole their name.
Surely not.
But we didn't know because we're back to the Kivecast, so there you go.
Yeah, it's all good. But Skye, are you going to the New York thing at Comic-Con? You've been before.
Yeah, so there's the weird thing of the Empire State Star Wars Collectors Club, of which I am one of the founding members, but not a directing member. It's mostly Tom and Jason. So the funny thing is, right? So everyone's going down to New York City Comic-Con, and it's this whole great thing, and they're going to have dinner, and it's going to be this great collector club. And if you're listening to this and you think, "Oh, I'm being excluded," if you hear the voice, you can get in on this dinner, And so I got tickets for the Comic-Con and everything, and then my department planned a trip. And I'm not the planner of the trip, but I'm the only person in the department who's willing to drive a 15-seater van.
Oh, man.
So I'm going to be driving the students in the 15-seater van. But guess where we're going? We're going to New York City. So I'm going to have to do
So you're taking a detour, yeah?
I'm going to have to do some kind of weird, I don't know, sitcom, 2 dates in the same restaurant kind of thing. Of I'm going to be going to the MoMA, and I'm going to be giving a talk about Rene Magritte. And then hopefully that night I'll be able to hang out with a bunch of Star Wars collectors at an expensive restaurant. But my family's coming too, so maybe that'd be a chance for my family to meet some of the Star Wars folks. I don't know.
Well, that's good. You're going to be in the vicinity. You got a fighting chance to get there. That's good.
Yeah, I do.
You're going to be there a lot closer than I am, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, Steve, you're doing a really good job of integrating all this news into. Because this is one of the subheadings Steve came up with was Collector Club Roundup. Because it's just going crazy.
No, it's true. There's a lot.
Did you have a Red Bull? Steve, did you have a Red Bull today?
No Red Bulls. I don't drink those anymore.
Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why you're doing so well. You're off the Red Bulls.
Is there a story there, Brock?
No, just Steve just used to, pound them, fist after fist back in the day. So I thought maybe that he'd back on him and he was on top of things, had his juices flowing again.
No, I've switched from Red Bull to Tecate. I think that's my go juice is Tecate.
Wow, that's
No.
Huh. All right, so intervention, Steve. We didn't know this is what this was about, but Brock and I both love you very much. And, Tessa, you on the line? Great. Can we
I see what's going on. I see it. I understand.
Do it for Digby. And there's the Arizona Club too.
Yeah, that's right. The Arizona, they're having one on November 2nd. That's organized by Paul, who goes by Fuzzball on the forums. He's a listener.
Yeah.
And then we have
is
New
he
England.
the same as there's another listener from England who goes by something fuzzy.
I don't know. That's true. Who's that? There's
Is it
another
the same
one.
guy? Are there two fuzzies?
No. There are two maybe fuzz somethings, but no, Fuzzball. That's Paul.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be Fuzz Paul. Come on, that's a lot funnier, isn't it? Okay, you've heard it, Paul. You should change your name to Fuzz Paul. That's okay.
Oh man! And then lastly, we got the New England get together. It's Micro Robs on November 10th. So and these are all, I think, guys that have done it regularly, and it's just good to see that they're still doing it. It kind of makes me realize, I got to keep doing it too. As long as people are interested, I'm up for it. So.
Yeah, and the last month's show prompted a lot of sort of more talk about the inner circle question and all that, obviously, because the meeting was somewhat exclusionary by nature. That's why these things are so important.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you have an inner circle. It matters if you have friends in the hobby. And the only way you're going to have friends in the hobby, real meaningful friends, is if you meet them and, see them. So here, whether you're on the West Coast, in the Southwest, or on the East Coast, there's within a month there's going to be real meetings of good folks who probably have a better collection than you do. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
So, and who are also nice people. Right, Steve?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did I say something out of line?
No, I don't think so.
And then actually, do you remember Andy?
Which Andy?
Bootleg Andy.
Yes. Yeah. Andy Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been sort of emailing less because I think because Joe hasn't been on in a while.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
A little letter of apology to our bootleg fans. Joe's been a little bit not around, so our bootleg content has been a bit down. Oh, I can ask Brock. Hey, Brock.
Sure. You can ask. I can't promise I can answer, but you can ask.
Are there any Rebel Soldier bootlegs?
There are Rebel Soldier bootlegs, but I do not know a whole lot about them because I decided long ago that I wasn't going to include bootlegs in my focus, but there definitely are Rebel Soldier bootlegs out there.
Oh, it's terrible. I feel so bad for the bootleg collectors. Just when you thought you got a bone, here you go, you got boned. Oh.
They are quite awesome and nice pieces. I just decided I personally wasn't going to go after them because that just was more things to spend money at, and I wanted to concentrate on prototypes. So.
All right, well then you know what? It's been thrown out there, bootleg collectors. You send us information about Rebel Soldier bootlegs and the next figure. What's the next figure, Steve?
It's the Asian Bespin Guard.
Okay, good. So you send us bootlegs about Rebels. You become the Joe, right? You fill in that Joe-shaped void in your own heart and send us information about Rebel Soldier bootlegs and Asian Security Guard bootlegs. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that's a good call out.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. And also, well, what Andy said, now that I've sat there...
Yeah, that's right.
just rambling on for a lot longer. He was saying that we should maybe mention that there's really been a real move away from Rebel Scum. And that it's mainly going towards Facebook. Is that something you guys have noticed?
I think in a certain group of people, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the old timers, have definitely moved more toward Facebook than Rebel Scum. It seems like you have quicker, direct access to, most of your closest friends, and I know I spend a whole lot more time on Facebook than I do Rebel Scum, and it's not because I don't have an interest in Rebel Scum. It just happens to be where most of the people are hanging out. So, I'm always going to go where I can, connect with the most people, most of the time. And, I personally think Facebook is working out quite well. I mean, with the various, specialized groups and things broken down a bit easier.
Now, is that what you do, Brock? You go to, specialized groups?
Yeah, I mean, there's groups for just regular collecting. There's focus collector groups. There's coin groups. There's prototype groups. There's, all different ways to get quick access to the people that have the answers you might be looking for quicker.
Now, here's a stupid question. If you post something there, does that automatically show up on your own timeline?
I think it depends on if the group is open or closed. I think that with it being a group like that, it may only show up on the timelines of people or on the news feeds of people that subscribe to the group. I don't think it will actually show up on your timeline.
Oh, cool.
Okay. You're posting it to the group, not necessarily because you're not posting it from your page. You're actually going to the group page and posting it there. And I think it's if you're a subscriber, it'll come across your news feed, or it'll put a little notification in the top where you click on it. It shows what people's been posting, and it'll say so and so's posted, something in this particular group. Maybe posted a picture or posted a question or or whatever, something like that.
That's all, I gotta do that because I was afraid of all of my 17th century French scholar friends only reading. So who else notices that 48 C's are less rare than 48 B's? Because that's my experience, Clavin.
There's no shortage of groups either. So, definitely if you're interested in, interacting in various areas, I'd certainly, check into it because there's definitely a lot of groups to choose from.
Yeah, he was saying that he has a whole FET collector thing, and that he invited us, Steve, and we should join. So
okay, yeah,
I'll join.
Absolutely.
Not mean I have one FET, but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting, and I think there's something else they're turning toward too, Steve.
What's that?
Podcasts.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of podcasts coming up. It's really good to see.
Yeah, I finally got a chance to listen to. I hadn't listened to Galaxy of Toys in a while, but I listened to their thing with Gus.
Yeah,
and it's a nice compliment, I think, to our show in a way, because if you listen to the 12-inch special that we did with Lee Bullock, and you listen to that, there's very little overlap in the information.
Oh, that's good.
Which is what I was just curious,
Yeah.
But there's some stuff on there that we didn't talk about, and some stuff on ours that they didn't talk about, and theirs is maybe a little bit less about the nature of collecting vintage and more about the toys themselves. If that makes sense. But yeah, it was neat. And Plaid Stallions is going, and
yeah, that's right.
Sort of more, I guess, Web 2.0-y.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You had even more news, Steve. We both found the same fascinating story.
Oh boy, yeah, Brock. Have you seen the story about the U-graded Ewok with the glue sticks?
I've seen it briefly and was, somewhat disgusted by the picture and just didn't go any further with it. So, absolute travesty.
All right, so let's give a little bit of for newer collectors. Let's sort of put this in the proper context.
Okay.
So in Italy, in the 80s, right?
Yep.
There was a weird thing where they would sell Ewoks with glue sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it said, Offerta stellare, uhu stick. And so you'd have, Paplu or Warrock or Wicked or whatever. Rebel Command? No, he's not Ewok. They just have them with 2 sticks of glue.
Right.
And these are very popular. I've never
actually
heard anyone.
Coincidence.
Yeah, why is this?
Ewoks and glue. I don't know. Is it anything like horses and glue? I mean.
Yeah, that's true. When Ewoks die, they turned into glue. Is it a before and after shot?
Oh man.
So someone managed to sell a U-graded set of these.
Right.
I still can't figure. I can't actually figure it out. I can't figure out if it's like, is it some kind of elaborate hoax, or because how could you prove that that's really what it is?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're just taking their word for it.
Well, I mean, I guess if it's really you graded, they sent it in and it was taken out.
Yeah.
So that's. I have to admit, though, part of me thinks it's awesome. But I mean, because it is the logical end of the U grading. You know, it is like you cannot get further away from the whole idea. You know, like it's the absolute abstraction. It is U grading in its purest, most repugnant form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's totally true.
And it's also great because you try to explain it to people and be like, no, this is, you don't understand. These glue sticks, they're, they were, with the toy that's in it. Why is it in plastic? Well, because no one's opened this before until the person who put it in the box opened it. Why'd you open it up? So that other people would know I didn't open it up. You know?
Yeah. No, it's speechless.
But you know what they have to do next?
Which one?
Bib Fortuna Colgate.
Yeah, the Colgate. That's right. Yeah.
So this is my call. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to maybe contact Oscar at Oscar Cases and make one of these cases and just put a thing of toothpaste in it and a loose Bib Fortuna and see if I can sell it for a couple grand.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, it's. Oy.
And a much cooler thing, the hobby archivist, Tommy, who we haven't talked to since episode 7 came out, right? Or since they announced it.
That's right, yeah. We got to get him back on. Tommy's got the true archivist in him. I mean, he went for these old Google groups from the old Rask days, as I like to say, the old news groups.
How is that pronounced? So again, for those of you who don't pay attention or whatever, the original place where people talked about Star Wars toys online was it wasn't even Google? I thought it was AOL. Or
no.
Google?
I mean, I think Google is kind of the outlet for them now, but right. As far as just preserving them. But I used to see these on AOL.
Right. So it was Rec, Arts, Science Fiction, Star Wars, Collecting, Vintage.
Yeah.
And so that is known as Rask.
I believe, and now I come in right after people really started moving, to the various forums on the internet or whatever. I come in right at the beginning of, like, Collect Star Wars and whatever, but I believe I've heard people call it RASV.
Yeah.
RASV?
That sounds a little more easy to say.
Well, maybe the archivist himself can chip in.
That's the way I've always pronounced it because I believe I heard somebody else pronounce it that way.
And if you ever want to, learn a lot about what it was like, a lot of the stuff you'll kind of get from us telling our stories on this show, you could get if you spent a lot of time searching around in those old times.
Yeah, no, it's there's some really funny stuff. I think this is going to be a regular thing that he kind of digs up, which is great. But the first two,
instead of sort of talking about it, we should really direct people there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the first one is about, like, basically all the people who found all of the prototypes from all the Kenner employees talking about, what is the responsibility? Should there be, should it be equally distributed? Is it fair the way things are happening?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with this eBay thing? A lot of contempt towards rich idiots. I read somewhere someone saying that eBay just means that rich idiots are going to be able to buy whatever they want.
Well, I think that's just the way things are and have been. I guess I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. So that's pretty fun. And it's cool because there's a lot of names you know, a lot of names you don't.
Yeah.
What's cool is that Chris Georgoulias sounds exactly the same, and Ron sounds pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like they're able to maintain their personalities pretty well over the years.
Yeah.
And then what's the second one, Steve?
The second one was all commentary on the first celebration and what a failure it was. And I didn't go, so I remember hearing many stories, but it's just funny to think about celebrations in those kind of pioneering terms and what they are now.
Yeah, and that's, it still almost feels like that was a prequel to Celebrations.
Yeah.
That like Celebration 2 almost was the real Celebration as we know it, and Celebration 1 was just this weird goof up.
Yeah. It's true.
But that's a fun one to look at and read.
Yeah.
Well, good. Is that all the news? That's
I think
actually
that's
a lot.
the news. Yeah, we were able to flesh it out a bit. It's good.
Yeah, I was able to add in a little bit about creepy babysitters. Hey, Broc, do you have any interesting babysitter stories?
Sure, why not? I'm always open to listen.
No, we've already told them. Do you have any from your life?
Not. Well, actually, I do that involve Star Wars. I can remember there was a woman by the name of Mrs. Hutchins. She was not the nicest of people I ever stayed with growing up. I can remember one time sitting in her kitchen. She had made me a bowl of SpaghettiOs, I believe, which, we all know is good and tasty. There was a little not supermarket, more like a little convenience store across the road from where she watched us. And back then, of course, nobody ever worried about actually staying with the kids that they were babysitting. So she decided she was going to trot across the road and do some shopping and left us there by herself, but she wouldn't let us get out of the chair. And for some odd reason, that made the gentleman next to me quite angry. And he picked up my X-Wing and threw it at the door as she was leaving, and it knocked the clock off the wall, which we knew that if she had come back and the clock was in the floor, that we were probably going to end up getting some kind of spankings or, some kind of punishment. So we had to scramble out of our chairs, climb onto, there gets the clock, pick it up, climb on top of the refrigerator, and, hang it back on the wall and get back in up in our seats. And it was just kind of an ordeal. But
turn off all the trash compactors in the detention level.
It was a pretty big ordeal, and it really sticks out in my head because I remember seeing my X-Wing fly across the room in complete horror, and it crashing into the wall and just causing us a slew of problems. But we made it. We got it.
Wow.
We got the clock back up there and back in our seats, and of course my SpaghettiOs were cold by the time I got back to my seat. But it was better than the spanking. So
babysitter approaching.
See, this is the natural. You got to let it just go, man. This is good stuff.
This is our new lightning round question. Who was the person next to you who threw the X-Wing, Broc?
He was another kid trainer by the name of Shane Butler. Good old Shane Butler. And let's just say he didn't grow up to be one of the nicer people in the world either. So, we kind of got a little bit of some shades of what he was going to be as he got older.
Huh.
Man.
Wow.
There you go. And apparently I was some sort of accomplice because he used my X-Wing. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think it's time we get some nuggets here, huh?
Yep.
'Tis a nugget from the archive. 'Tis a nugget.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous.
From the archive.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous.
Cool. We just talked about how I'm going to cut out something where I was insanely inappropriate. So you guys let's have to wonder what that is. But we've been full of mysteries lately, Steve.
That's right. Yeah.
So now that we know we're talking about a nugget, Broc, you know me. I'm Mr. Tell me more about things, and so I don't really understand particularly well what this nugget is. So what is this could almost also be a vocabulary
Yeah, I was
section.
going to say there's probably some vocab intermixed within this one.
Right. So it is a Rebel Soldier unpainted hard copy.
Yes.
So what is this thing, Broc?
This particular piece is cast in a resin called Repro 10, which is actually quite uncommon among hard copies. There's very few pieces known to exist out there in this material. I don't know off the top of my head that necessarily means anything in the grand scheme of things, because it was probably just whatever the material that the person in the model shop or whoever might have been working on it at the time was using. I know there's a few Star Wars Star Wars character parts that have showed up. At one time, I owned a Leia Bespin hard copy that was completely cast in Repro 10, but it was painted. So you couldn't really see it except for where the paint had chipped off, but it was all black. But Repro 10 is a black material, much the same as Carbalon and Dynacast, which were used much more commonly, whatever. But I think the main thing about this material that everybody likes so much is just how striking it is with it being solid black.
Right.
This particular
so
piece,
just to
go ahead.
Yeah, just to go back for the vocabulary then. So then, the hard copy were the versions that were made from the mold before they were sent to the factory.
Yes, they were. Hard copies would have, the sculpt would have been cast, a silicone mold made off the sculpt, and then they would have used those molds to make the hard copies, which typically turn into tooling masters, for making the other molds, and for painting up for photography purposes, toy fairs, cardbacks, magazines, catalogs, whatever. Because those were always, the super early thing, the stage before we get to actually using steel molds to make, first shots, test shots, that sort of thing.
Right, so that's why they often are not together, because the pieces can all be taken apart because they're not sonic welded.
Right.
That's the word, right?
Right, yeah, they're solid. They're not plastic, they're a resin. The torso is solid, so there's no really any welding to it. Some hard copies out there have been glued together to stay together. I guess they're, once they're done having to be, taken apart back and forth or whatever. Some, are, inadvertently glued together with the paint, because they were put together, before the paint dried, and the paint dried in place, and you can't get the limb. I've got a painted Rebel Soldier hard copy as well, that all the limbs don't come off because the paint, basically glued it together or whatever. But
Right.
each part's molded individually, so they had to put it together somehow. So they usually use pins or some kind of rods inside of them to actually hold them together, for various purposes, see what they look like, to paint them for, like display purposes, photography, that kind of thing.
Right, and so this is, we'll have lots of pictures up on the enhanced version.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really nice version of this, because a lot of hard copies aren't complete, and it's nice to be able to see the entire thing as it all plays together. And also, it's the least useful Rebel Soldier ever, because not much camouflage if you're completely black in the middle of the snow. It's like a shadow soldier.
Yep.
And then what makes it black is that it's made in this Repro 10 as opposed to Dynacast, which is usually
Green,
and then Carbalon, which is usually
a brownish color, close to like a peanut butter color. It can vary in shades. I've seen some that are really dark brown that almost look like a chocolate color, and I've seen some much lighter that look like a really light beige color almost. But most of them are usually somewhere in the middle around the color of peanut butter.
Right. So this is, really rare, really nice. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, I love the pins. Actually, Steve, we're just going off script all day, every day. But my kids love the new Tron movie, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. You have to see it twice though. The first time you see it, you're like, eh. Second time you realize it's a good movie. And there's the female character, but it's a really badly made toy. So we got the toy, and it's actually fairly rare, and the head just pops off immediately. And I had no idea how to keep the head on. Like, I used super glue, and it wouldn't stay on, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I actually was looking on the archive, and I saw a picture of one of these, and it gave me an idea, and I took out I took like a little metal rod. I got a drill, and I drilled into the head, and then I drilled into the body, and then I stuck a pin, like a metal pin, into the body, and then it's attached to the head.
Yep.
And so she can now take the head off and put it back on, but it will stay on if she wants it to.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So exactly. Someday it'll be in a collection. Yeah, no, that's sweet. And I guess that's why I don't know what it is about this stuff where I can hear about it 1,000 times, but it's hard for me to retain the different. I guess it's because I don't own any of these pieces, and maybe the fact I don't know about them makes it easier for me not to want them. Does that make sense?
Sure,
yeah, in a lot of ways, sure. Yeah.
Because they really are kind of like potato chips or whatever. If you ever get one, you're not satisfied. Because once you have, I mean, if you have a general interest in the, pre-production process anyhow, but once you ever get one and you see how neat these things are in person and, the level of detail that are in these, compared to production figures and everything, and the fact that they come apart is really neat, and, you can really see that it was something they used, to develop all of this stuff. And once you get one of them, you're dying to get another one, and they're just not easy to come by.
Right, yeah. It also helps that being an original 12 collector, it's just kind of like, yep, not going to happen. Okay, moving on.
That's true, yeah.
But interestingly enough...
And it was that way 10 years ago. Much less now.
Right. Well, interestingly enough, Chewbacca is one of the few characters out there that I know has been cast in Repro 10. I believe Gus owns some arms for Repro 10.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Yeah. That's what he has attached to his wax sculpt. That's. I spent time looking at that and admiring how awesome it is. And I think. I think if I had one of those, maybe I'd get into it. So we'll see if that happens.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Very cool. I don't think we actually have any commercials to cut away from.
Ooh.
Although we can say use the United States Post Office, right, Brock?
Sure, absolutely. Job security. Thank you.
Yeah, don't go to Stamps.com. Just go to the dang post office.
Yep.
These guys have been sponsors with us for years, Steve. And we always say, go to the dang post office. You got to wait in line? So what? That's what your grandparents did. Who cares? Why, you think you're so cool you can print your own stamps? It doesn't mean anything if you can print them. When they came out with the Elvis stamp, that meant something. Like when they came out with the Star Wars stamps, it was a special thing. Now you can put pictures of your kids on stamps. Who cares? It's everything that's wrong with society. Do it yourself. No. Go to the post office and wait. Okay. How's that for a live read?
That's pretty good.
That was awesome.
I think I just got people to sign up for Stamps.com.
I think you did.
All right. Let's get some unloved action.
You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. The unloved and the unnatural.
It did kind of sound like I was reading that. I wasn't reading that, but...
No, you had the right cadence in your voice and everything. That just sounded
I honestly thought that was like rehearsed or something. I really thought I didn't realize you did that on the fly. That's fantastic.
Well, no, because the thing is, when you listen to as many podcasts as I do, I have heard, literally, like probably 700 commercials for Stamps.com.
Yeah, no, it's true. It seems like to be the most common one, right?
Yeah, Stamps.com, like having an Amazon, like click-through is really big. GoToMeeting.
GoToMeeting, that's another one.
Audible, those are all the ones that I target because I think if you're a podcast listener like me, having someone say, don't go to Audible, go to the library and download the books on your computer, and it's free. I think other podcast junkies would get a kick out of that. Although, actually, I think most of our listeners are not podcast junkies. They're like, I don't really know what a podcast is, but I like hearing about Star Wars toys. So...
See, that kind of describes me.
Right, yeah.
No.
All right, awesome. Well, you picked out an excellent unloved item, Steve.
Oh, this is one of the funnest reads I've had in a while. There's, Woman's Day, the magazine, they put out these kind of write-ups on build your own Star Wars environments.
Yes,
and
Woman's Day.
Hmm?
You didn't say it. Woman's Day. It's
Okay.
just nice and clear because it's an unexpected source of vintage Star Wars information.
That's true. And the one that I think gets more recognition is the original Death Stars. I think it was a Death Stars PlayStation, something like that. But because it has a bunch of vinyl cape Jawas in one of the scenes, I think.
Yeah.
But this I had not seen until doing some research for this show. And for Empire Strikes Back, they did a couple more, and one of them was for Hoth. It was the Echo Base Rebel Station, and the funniest thing, because I was looking for something Rebel Soldier that was obscure, and one of the action features on this thing, if you actually put it together as they describe, is sort of what Ron Salvatore describes as a crazy space trampoline.
Yeah.
And what they call it is the personnel launcher, and it just shows this kid dropping a helpless rebel soldier with his arms in the air onto a little trampoline to bounce off into God knows where. But it's just, as far as I'm concerned, this was kind of how I built Hoth as a kid. I would take the styrofoam from any electronics that my parents bought and just say, can I have that? Can I keep it? And I would make that be my Echo base, and that's kind of the vibe I got from this. So it's incredible.
Now, I also think it's cool that Butler kid used the personnel X-Wing launcher, leaving Brock with his cold SpaghettiOs. Personnel launcher, that is one of the great vintage images of all time. And if you have the enhanced, you see it. But if you don't, it really deserves, it has the great 2 of a 70s font. It just says personnel launcher. You just see this hand with this rebel soldier just what's going on?
It is just classic.
Is the kid trying to catch it, though, because he's being launched? I mean, we don't know for sure he's being dropped.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
I get this image of, Showtime at the Apollo or something in the Sandman, the Rebel Soldiers just put on the worst performance of the day and just getting yanked right off stage, just launched, literally, right off stage.
And the Wampa's layer is pretty excellent as well.
Mm-hmm.
What I love is the shot of the kids with the whole thing. It's so close to Kenner photography. It really feels very similar. And this is, we were talking about displaying this. We were talking to Ron, who wrote the write-up on this, and we are definitely going to make this. Someone has to make this.
Yeah, it has to happen.
So, if you are interested in making it, if you want to be the person who gets credit on the Kivecast for building it, go to the SWCA.com and look for the Womans Day Hoth set, because I may do it at some point. I don't know what this winter is going to be like, but this thing is just it's perfect. I mean, it really looks like the best possible Hoth playset you could ever have.
Yeah. That's
and what's cool is the kid is smart because he's playing with the die-cast toys in scale with the rest of it. So you see him with a snow speeder, and it's the right way. Although that is a Leia Bespin, not a Leia Hoth.
Yeah, I guess Leia Hoth hadn't been released yet, huh?
Oh yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, and same with the Luke Hoth. I think there's a Luke Bespin in there. It's just funny because it really does kind of put it in a time frame.
Right. Yeah, I guess it had to be just right after the 31 backs. Hey, that's really cool.
Man, are those cotton balls? I'm just looking at this more like.
There's cotton balls. I looked at the directions a little bit. It's like a lot of foam. What I don't understand is how you get those stickers. Those things are so cool.
Oh yeah, those are pretty good.
That's whenever there's anything like this, there's always the thing where you have to go, yeah, but I wouldn't have that, and that's.
I'm thinking I would pay good money to see Han and Chewie actually try to get inside of that Falcon.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's that's a very good unloved item, and we. Oh wait, you're right. Yeah, Han and Chewie are actually. Chewie and Han are working on a die-cast Falcon.
Yeah.
Maybe they're putting a model together.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
That's really cute though. I like that. I like that idea that a kid would be willing to have that kind of scale mess up if needed.
Yeah. No, it's. What you got to do sometimes. I think we have to save the Dagobah set for another time because that's a whole other. But we do know we will get back to that.
Yes.
Teaser.
Every woman's day shall have its day, woman. So good then. I guess that brings us to a feature that we have not heard in a long time.
That's right.
We are going to actually have or talk about the results of a debate D8.
I'm not going to debate you, Jerry. I'm not going to sit here and debate.
And I can't fight.
Fight!
What's the battle?
And I can't fight.
Fight!
What's the battle?
So, because we're talking about the debate D8, and because I've been making a habit this month of never getting to the point, which is also the way I teach, so it's very useful.
Man, I'm thinking about it. I've been wanting to just sit in on one of your classes for a long time.
Yeah, you should come out. I teach that class in English about hip-hop. I think you'd have fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting really tricky because, I'm doing this advanced grammar class, and I'm using Harry Potter as the textbook. So like it's a trick to get them to think that they're not learning really complicated grammar. But then I just go off because now my kids are in Harry Potter fever, and I just sort of go off in these long tangents and about the books, but in French, and it's all in the same way. So
there you have it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's terrible to enjoy the sound of your own thoughts. But anyways, so debate D8. So Steve, I was in this place in Rochester, New York. That's this weird. It used to be a printing factory. But they closed it down and they turned it into lofts and stores.
Okay, all right.
Now, most of the places in the world that you've been to, that means they're going to be upscale lofts and fancy stores.
Right.
Not so in Rochester, my friend. It's like there's like a weird like head shop. There's like a wig store, like African American wigs. There's like a store that's exclusively like for wizards. I mean, I don't know if it's like
store for wizards
or Wiccans or I don't know what.
Okay.
There's like the I'm Out and Proud store. There used to be a cool record store, but that moved out. And there's all these cool places. And there's this really cool place called, you'll like this, Brock, like the Yankee Trader, I believe it's called.
Huh. Sweet.
And it's just one of these stores. It's completely narrow, and they have just, I was able to buy a Batman animated series figure for $2, but then they'll have a loose, black Bespin security guard for $15, for $30. That kind of weird mixture. And they have a lot of vintage stuff. I bought a costume, Empire Strikes Back Chewie costume there once, and they have baseball cards and hockey cards and comic books thrown in. It's just a smorgasbord of all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I found in the dollar bin, someone made this custom necklace. And what they did was they took eyelets and they screwed them into the back of a vintage 8D8 figure and a modern 8D8 figure.
Oh.
And it's like this weird double necklace. So I bought it. I took off the modern one, of course, and I gave it to my daughter because she loves necklaces. And she now will walk around rocking this vintage 8D8 custom necklace.
Oh, priceless.
But could anything pose more questions than why would you make an 8D8 necklace? Because it wasn't like, hey, what's this toy? It's like, I have to make this necklace. I have to have one vintage and one modern, and, it's just beautiful. And that, my friends, is the beauty of Rochester, New York. That's
wow.
That's what we're all about here on the muddy shores of the Erie Canal. So I feel bad because Joe out in, does he live in Romania? He's British, but he lives in Romania, or is he Romanian and he lives in England? Do you know that, Brock?
I believe he lives in Romania. I believe.
Right,
but he's British. Yeah.
He's the big 8D8 collector, and I definitely have something that you just can't buy. But anyways, what is the subject of our debate?
So we put out a poll, I guess it was 2 episodes ago, about what should we call vintage figures that were distributed outside of the U.S. And so one option was foreign, the other international. And we do have some results after all that time.
All right.
So for the winner went to foreign at 47 votes. International came in at 32 votes. So I mean, it was fairly. It wasn't a landslide for foreign, but there you have it.
Now, Brock, what is your vote?
Foreign.
You vote for what's your reasoning?
I guess because I see the U.S. as being the central, starting point for all of the vintage figures, so anything outside of the U.S. would be foreign to most of us to collect these.
All right, and Steve, what's your vote?
I mean, I'd always gone with foreign because that seemed to be what I had heard the most, but I think, I guess I got to stick with it in terms of just production, but once you start to get into the other kinds of stuff, like the like the Hungarian pocket calendars and just the stuff that comes from, who knows where, I think you can kind of split it in that sense. That stuff is more international to me. But the figures itself, the figures itself, I think of the Kenner stuff as being, created in the United States, manufactured overseas. But then you have these distributions that are, I guess foreign to the United States, so I guess I understand that word. But to me, like the random stuff that comes out of these other countries, that I would deem international.
I like that. You know what word I've decided to use? Un-American. I collect American and un-American. That's my channeling my inner Colbert. Yeah, I've really struggled because I've learned that I have a reputation in the hobby as being this wild, crazy, left-wing nut, which I'm not really, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not really, but I guess it's the hair, and the fact that there are a lot of right-wing crazy nuts in the hobby. I guess everyone sort of assumes that I would be against the foreign appellation. It's funny. It's funny because it seems like, so that was the majority that we got there. Darth Berezing, he says that that's his focus, and he says foreign because it's not, in his words, it's not something you look at where the collector determines it. It's the actual term. The movie was U.S., so that was that. He then quoted The Rock, but I don't actually know the original quote.
Wait a minute.
No, not The Rock, the good actor, The Rock, the bad movie.
Yeah, no, that's what I figured.
He said, "I swore to collect all Star Wars MOCs, sir, foreign and domestic." But I don't know what the original quote is.
Okay.
If it was from Big Lebowski, I might get it.
Yeah.
And then Graham says that foreign figures should be referred to as non-domestic.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have a ring to it.
That's true. It was an Ollie. He said, "How about exotic?"
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a number of choices you can go for, but I don't know. It's a debate, I guess. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris Georgoulias was sort of being in favor of calling it international. But then, does that mean that America is not a part of international? I mean, it's still in the American-centric paradigm,
I mean, couldn't the international collectors essentially say that everything U.S. is foreign as well? I mean, couldn't our stuff fall under foreign depending on the collector and where they're located?
Right. So I guess non-U.S. Un-American. I'm going back to un-American. I like this.
I say let's just start a craze with them. Just call them all variations.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
There you
go. So we set out to come up with a definitive answer to this question, but much like the name of the show, we'll just say it's all the same.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear any, I don't know, I thought it would stir up more anger, but everyone just sort of seemed to agree.
Yeah, I think most people probably accept foreign because, like Steve said, it's just what it's always been called.
Right.
I never really put that much thought into it. I've always just said, it's foreign. I mean,
right.
I don't mean that in any other manner than to describe that it's not from the U.S. It's. I don't know if some people take offense to that or whatever, but to me, they're foreign toys.
Or maybe, you know what it is. Like if you ever talk, or often if you talk with Native Americans and you ask them, do you want to be called Native Americans? And they sometimes don't like that, and they sometimes don't like Indian or whatever it is. The best thing is just to say whatever tribe they're from, right? Like that's actually the most polite thing because you're not treating a whole bunch of different people as one giant group of people who are all the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess in general it'd be better just to say British or European or Eastern European, right? Or European and Asian, or even just French and British, or maybe more specific is more correct.
Yeah, I guess I always kind of go with the toy companies, the foreign distributing companies. Those are always kind of my key points to try and remember. And sometimes it's hard, other times it's not. But
yeah, but then if you're like, I collect Palatoy. Oh, so you don't collect Denny's Fisher? Well, yeah, I mean, I also sort of collect Denny's Fisher too.
Yeah, you kind of get in trouble either way.
Yeah. I actually got in trouble. I was eating some Japanese candy, and I forgot which Japanese candy the little Chewbacca came in.
The tree marked.
Oh, no.
Was it Meiji or Morinaga? So, kivecast@gmail.com. I could look it up, but it's more fun to have people tell me I'm an idiot. I think it was Morinaga. But maybe
find out.
But maybe Meiji also released toys. I don't know. Cool, so that's our debate. It's staying foreign because that's what most people call it. $1 Vlicks. Market Watch. We just heard a good not-for-air story about someone who swore a lot. But I had to edit out a lot of swearing last month. That was the main effort from last month, was all the people talking about how hot it was.
Yeah, that's right.
I just left that in because it was so clearly irritating Chris that everyone kept saying it, and he kept on saying, besides how hot it is, what can you tell me about the room sales? Oh, you're right, Chris, it is hot. Oh, man, is it hot. You go to the next person. So we are well aware that the temperature is higher than one would desire, right? So what else besides that would you like to say? Besides the fact that it's really hot? Because, it's a steam room. It's a sauna in here. That's worth listening to, Brock.
Yeah, you got to hear it.
So let's talk about the Market Watch, Steve. So you just want to hit... I mean, they just keep getting better.
Yeah, they really do. We got... I think it was kind of nice as we took a hiatus. I think the guys took a hiatus, and it kind of gives us a chance to catch up a little bit. But the website, according to Mike, has reached 10,000 views, which is just incredible to me. It's awesome to hear the people are checking it out, and I'm really hoping they keep doing it. He's getting about 300 to 400 people there a month checking out the site, and it's just great to hear that it's doing so well. And this month he's got the Rebel Soldier update, and there's some good stuff in here. I mean, it's a pretty concise rundown. We can go through a few of them, but it just makes me happy to see this being so much better than what I was doing before. This is just awesome. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess maybe we just do a range here. So for the Rebel Soldier on Empire card.
Wait, stop, Brock. Have you looked at this yet? Because maybe we can quiz him. Brock, don't look. Have you looked yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh,
that's all right. That's all right.
So I guarantee I will answer all the questions correctly.
Okay, so then do you remember what a AFA 85 Rebel Soldier went for?
$410.
Oh, man, you're looking right at it.
Yeah, I've got it on my iPad pulled right up in front of me here.
All right.
I'm that guy when it comes to radio trivia.
Oh, yeah, you always cheat?
No, not always.
Yeah.
Just if there's something really important on the line.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, then it's 200 for an AFA 80.
Yeah.
Hey, that'd be a good question, right? So there's a lot of AFA fans that we have out there. So what is the average price difference between an 80 and an 85? Or what are the figures that I know that a Death Star droid in 85 just goes for crazy money. I know 12-back Chewies go for crazy money in 85. Because 85 seems to be the magic number for people. Yeah. So I would be curious to know, has that changed? Has the gulf between the 80 and the 85 changed? Let's talk to AFA collectors.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting if you could put some kind of percentage in the differences, if there's a way to figure it out. I am not a good person for math, so I would not even try. But
400 versus 200.
Yeah. Let's see if that. I mean, would that translate to
10,
a different character?
Yeah, it's like at least 10%. So there's not that many. Okay, so we're not going to read them all, Steve. You're saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've got a few here. There's after that 200 one, you go to a 31 that's ungraded for 125, and then you go down, and it.
Does that sound about right, Brock? Is that usually what they go for? An ungraded?
Yeah, the ungraded ones, that sounds pretty, typical from, it's been a long time since I've bought production figures, and, but the prices for Rebel Soldiers back then, something ungraded that's in really nice condition, 100 to 150, seemed about right.
Yeah, that seems a bit high to me for no offense,
this one in particular,
for this figure. All right. Well,
it's like everything else. Prices are up on everything these days.
That's true.
The fact that somebody paid $410 for a Rebel Soldier in any condition just blows my mind. I don't want to, put anybody down or nothing, but that's just crazy talk. It's a Rebel Soldier. It may be my character, but it's still at the bottom of the barrel of characters.
Oh man, look at this. There's a 48B. So that's the Empire Strikes Back with the sticker offer, as opposed to the printed Akbar offer. Went for $40.
$40, yeah.
And yet, that's actually one of the harder ones to find.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm obsessed with the 48Bs being rarer than the 48Cs, and that seems like a really good deal. $40 for that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's
and then insane. The 48C sold for. Didn't give a price on that.
Yeah, I don't think we have no price on that one. But another thing that was kind of funny to me, there was a 48D proof, a revenge proof that sold for $335. So it's just funny. It seems like we've run into it before, where a proof card of a character will sell for less than just a carded example in some cases, which. It's just interesting to see that pattern repeat itself over and over again.
I'm assuming that's got a lot to do with the fact that there's probably far more production collectors than there are pre-production collectors. But like you said, the prospect of this proof card, which is absolutely gorgeous, even though it's a revenge, which is one of the more common proof cards to find out there's revenges of any character, but still there's a ton less of it out there than there are, production figures. I mean, there's not a lack of 31 back Rebel Soldiers out there. There's just not. But the fact is, they pay almost $100 more for one of those, as opposed to something that there's probably less than 50 known to exist in the world. And not to mention it's unproduced. I mean, it's the only way you can get it with the Revenge logo on a card.
Right.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, that is a nice picture too. That is nice proof.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then you got Radar Boy, Skye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the laser cannon. $104.49 for an AFA 80. And that is really an awesome toy. That no matter what anyone says, I think it rocks.
Yeah, no, that's because it's iconic and it's something you can really play. You know how to play it with a toy, and it seems actually $100 for that isn't too bad, because you figure it's at least a $20 case, and if it's sealed, right, that's got to be at least a $40 item sealed. Would you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Brock, did you ever have like a production run for the laser cannon?
Yeah, I've had a few of them. Back in the day, you could usually get those anywhere from $25, $35 or whatever in pretty decent condition. But, like everything else, prices are up on stuff. And the further out we get from these toys being produced, the harder they are to find sealed or the tape not dried out or decent conditions. So, if you add in what it probably costs to have the thing graded, and the actual case made itself or whatever, $105 probably isn't terribly bad for that.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like we're probably going to get. I'm interested to see how the market watch develops as we get to more and more of these sort of lesser produced characters or lesser collected characters.
Yeah. So I mean, that great job, Mike, on the Soldier, as always. That was just what we needed. And Pete, he's kind of got a different approach this month. He kind of focused just on Power of the Force stuff in general, which is it's fun because it's really its own thing. He's got some body rigs. Those were always kind of an obscure thing for me. I could never ever find them. I never really went for it. But he's got a couple of graded ones of those that were all in the $240 range. I don't even know what one of these would just sell for ungraded, so I don't really have a reference point. But the thing that bugs me about them is how yellow they're going to be. It's just like the yellowest bubble you'll ever see. It's always on these guys, which is a bummer, because the artwork on the back and the toys themselves are actually pretty neat, but it is what it is, I guess.
And these particular pieces have seemed to become in higher demand over the last few years as well. I can remember, at one point that people just really didn't care about them all that much, even, they were Power of the Force or whatever, and like you said, the yellow bubbles were such a turnoff.
Yeah.
probably seen less than, I can count on my hand of things that are actually remotely clear for these particular.
Yeah, I can't think of ever seeing one that was really clear.
Most of them are this almost dark brown,
Right.
or whatever, which, they have to be super fragile at that point.
Yeah,
But they do seem to be in much higher demand than they used to be.
Now, I've seen the original art for sale and on people's walls. Has any pre-production stuff of these, like, body rigs ever shown up?
Yeah, I believe some first shots have showed up, and I believe one collector has one of the actual original models that was made.
Oh, cool. Huh.
Or whatever. Might have been for the Security Scout, I believe, the one that he has.
Hmm.
But no proofs or chrome lens?
No, I have a proof.
There's proof sheets. Yeah, I don't know about chrome lens, but I know there's definitely some proofs.
Yeah.
You have a proof of these, Steve?
Yeah, I have the proof I have came from Tom, and it has all three vehicles on there, so it's cool because I love the artwork on those packages. So it was a really, and this was back when he was selling things relatively reasonably, and it was easy to get, and so I thought, yeah, why not? But yeah, no, I have a proof sheet that has the three of them together, just the cards. So
right, and just to be clear, so he's referring to Tom Nyheisel,
yes,
the ex-Kenner employee who we will hopefully talk to at one point. But he's an employee who was able to fill up his van and take stuff home and then sell it to collectors.
Right.
And there was a time where there was a lot of stuff that people would love to buy at the prices he was selling them for, but they just sat on his shelves for years until people paid for it, and now they're worth more. So that's awesome. I didn't know you had that, Steve.
Yeah, and I'll send you a picture of it. I got it framed, and it's a really cool piece.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's probably the best way to have it, because who wants those stinky bubbles?
Yeah. Man, okay, so he's got a skiff here that sold for $13.13. It was an AFA 80. And this is another one of those kind of toys that I always wish I had, but I never really decided to bite the bullet on. But we've talked about skiffs before, but it's beautiful, but it's also scary in a lot of ways.
How is it scary?
Just I guess the price. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems pretty high, but I think there's a time where it was one of the most desirable things, right?
Yeah.
I still think there is, a little bit of a luster to it, among production collectors. I mean, I guess with, I don't want to speak for you and Steve both, but for myself, being a prototype collector, it's hard for me to, grasp spending that kind of money on production toys, because it's money that I would much rather sink into something that, I truly desire and, a lot harder to come by. But I can certainly see by looking at this example for somebody that wants one that's absolutely gorgeous. 1313 seems up there. I remember the days when they were like $350, $500 or whatever, but that was also the days before AFA, so.
Yeah.
Definitely, I still believe it's one of the more desired pieces out there, and may even be harder to get than it once was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, and then these carded figures that he has are some of the nicest looking Power of the Force carded figures I've seen, and they're all a couple. Let's see, a Luke Poncho for $405, a Han Carbonite $405. There's a dignitary here. I think the price wasn't on the page, but I clicked it. It was like $150, but it's like. These are the nicest looking ones I'd seen when I had tried to get these. I just settled for what I could get, and these are really impeccable.
Yeah, a lot of really super clear bubbles.
Yeah.
Oh, cool! And then he even and there's a lot more we just skipped over, so you really need to check it out. KiveCastMarketWatch.wordpress.com.
That's right.
See how I got that right the first time?
You got it.
So I like how he includes Glassleet.
Yep.
Right, because that's how you say it. A Luke that went for $620.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh man, a Vader sold. What?
Whoa. Yeah. 9100. That was the rare. Yeah, man, that's.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was that rare.
Yeah, I didn't either. And 9100. That's.
Yeah, 9,000. I didn't know that. Wow. All right, but you guys should go and check out the rest of those. He goes into coins and he goes into a lot of the things. We got to start sending people more there.
Yeah.
You know what we should have said? We should have said, wait till you see what the Vader went for. You'll never believe it. And then I would send them there.
No, it's really worth checking out and seeing the rundown because it's just so well done.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to lead us to our feedback section, which we usually do on our own, Broc. But I am announcing a new contest.
Uh-oh.
Would you like to know what that is, Broc?
Absolutely. You're letting me guess. It's the name of my team.
Yes. So for those of you who've been paying attention, Broc and I had a side bet that so if the Red Sox won the series between the Red Sox and the Yankees this year, I would get to name Broc's team. And if the Yankees won, which it seemed like they might have for a certain period of time there, then he would get to name my fantasy baseball team next year. Now,
Right.
I'm too much of a jerk because I know that Broc loves Prince, so I immediately came up with Ellsbury Beret, but I can't do that to my friend. I could do that to a Yankees fan, but I can't do that to my friend. I was going to do I was thinking about Orville Redenbacher, which is one I had before. I mean, Orville A. Rodenbacher, because I know I like that one. So the contest is name Broc's fantasy baseball team for next year. Don't let me do it, because I'm just going to be too much of a jerk. You know a lot about him from the show. Let's come up with a good name that's maybe good-hearted ribbing, but not as mean as all the things that I was thinking of, because I got pretty into it. You ought to see my list, Broc, of names I had considered. All right, Broc. Well, thanks for coming by. I'm sure we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you before your next character. Who's your next character in the line that we study?
Let's see. Who would be next?
Is it Nine Nub?
Yeah, it'll probably be 9 Nub, so we still got a ways to go.
All right. Well,
so I'll see y'all sometime after Celebration 7, maybe.
Yeah, sometime in 2098. We'll see. All right, Broc. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
Here at the Kivecast, we really do care. You can email us at kivecast@gmail.com, Twitter us at Kivecast, or join us up on our Facebook page. We really do care.
Hey, cool. I never know how to hang up. It's always an awkward thing. So listeners, we just hung up on Broc just right now, and every time it's a weird thing of I don't know whether I should say okay, goodbye, hit stop recording, and then say goodbye again, but then it's kind of awkward. So the best thing is just to stop.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
Yeah, I think we're safe. So we have a lot of feedback to get through, Steve.
Yes, we do.
Because it was 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Let's sort of talk quickly about the Snowtrooper episode. We didn't get to mention Jared's masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Garbage Pail Kid with Ooze Eye.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was great. That was... I mean, it's hard to say because I like so many of his things so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my favorite, but that's definitely up there.
It is. It's up there as one of the best.
And got a lot of really nice support for sort of the weird kind of life stuff that I've been going through. So that's been pretty neat. Some of it is, just been very personal, not stuff I would say on air. But I was hesitant to talk about those things, but I'm glad I did because
I'm glad you did too.
Yeah, it's been supportive and not invasive.
Yeah, good.
And what's up with our Facebook page, Steve?
It's funny. When I first wrote this outline, we were at about 300 people that like us or are following us, and we're up to about 330, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It means I think we have at least that many people listening. I hope they may just say, "What the hell is this?" on Facebook and say, "I like that." But no, it's going well, and it seems like the more we post, the more people are interacting with it. So I'll try and keep up on that. And through Facebook, actually, it was an email from Tim Hopkins, who does the Escape podcast in Kentucky. He mentioned to me that my lame Diggs Barklighter actually got a mention on This Week in Star Wars, which it just blew my mind.
Wait, what?
Did you actually listen to it?
I didn't click through it. What is this?
Okay. So, the podcast This Week in Star Wars, right?
Yeah, they were at the celebration.
So This Week in Star Wars, in just a random update about, I think it was on which toys are available where right now, he made a mention of, I guess, a special X-Wing that was out there for sale, and he called it the personal X-Wing of Diggs Barklighter, and it was just so subtle, and then Tim heard it and sent me a link, and I just cracked up. Like, I would not have expected that, so that definitely gave me a laugh.
So was it a reference to our show?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was really fun.
I remember when This Week in Star Wars was recording at Celebration 6, I guess it was, and that's funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see, Elling encourages us not to listen to Martin Thurn.
That's right.
So we really have to get him on the show because, he did that. He actually did a magazine about collecting vintage Star Wars toys. Not an audio version, but a physical one. And I think, why haven't we had him on yet, Steve?
I don't know. We just need to, I think, get the message out now.
We really could do it weekly, Steve, the more I think about it. Because, the amount of people, who've said in the last couple months, oh, how come we're not on the show? Or people that Chris talked to in Europe. And, if it were up to me, all I would do would be, calling Martin Thurn and talking about his magazine and, calling Stefan and talking about his book and where it is, but it's just just to get the 15 hours carved out. It's
it is tough, but I'm glad we do it, and I'm glad it's doable.
Yeah. But we're definitely not cutting down on the time of the show. It's just
I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast with us. We do pack it all in at once rather than throughout the month.
Yeah, and you can't, because if we didn't let it breathe, you wouldn't get the story about the cold SpaghettiOs with the
That's true.
The X-Wing, and that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then we got a bunch of emails from Bill. I guess we do last names. Bill Hanscom, and he's been sort of binge listening.
Oh, okay.
So I love it when people binge listen because I think it's really neat to hear people's view of the show. He said that he's noticed. I've noticed for the past 24 episodes that Steve is always at a higher volume. He's like, I hope that clears up, but I think we actually did. I think I cleared that up. It's still hard, but I think I did clear it up. And it's cool because he says he lives in the North Shore of Massachusetts, and he went to college in Rochester. So he likes my references to the area. So, seeing as I spent a lot of my young adulthood in beautiful Malden, Massachusetts, and spent much of my youth at the Good Time Emporium, which is actually not really North Shore. It was this arcade, Steve, where you basically you tried not to get shot. That was the nice thing about Boston. Every arcade had a level of menace. I remember on New Year's Eve, we went to this place that used to be in downtown Boston called Teddy Bears. And a friend of mine got held up at knife point. We were going to go see Aerosmith at the Fleet Center. And as we left, I believe the line was I'm going to stab your ass. It was something like that. It was kind of like a line that you can't believe someone actually said. So I went up buying him a hot dog. So we'll keep up with the local references from time to time. But it's neat, and it's cool too because he says he works in conservation and that he appreciates the sort of references we have to things that are sometimes a little bit snootier. And definitely saying that it's not okay to reapply a sticker that fell off. He shouted no out loud when we said about using a glue stick, which I don't remember us actually talking about, but I'm sure we said it. And then Richard Hutchinson, who is in our hockey league, who goes by CC4HRU, which we'll have to figure out what that means before the end of the season. What did you think your name was, Steve?
He thought that my last name was Deadly, and I just, man,
Steven B. Deadly.
It's yeah.
I cannot think of a less apt name for you, Steve.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Deadly.
No, I mean, I think my bank probably got it right when they sent me a box of checks that was Stephen B. Dandy. I think that was probably the right mistake to make, but, I mean, I'll take Deadly. It makes me feel empowered.
Stephen B. Dandy. Oh, those are both great.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I love those. I love the mistakes in names.
Oh, yeah.
The best is I had a friend named Mark Simone, and Volkswagen of America thought his name was Maru JJ Sai.
What?
I used to I could still die. Maru JJ Sai. That was the name they came up with.
Just a really bad typo? Or
No, like that was what they thought it was. And I still have his Blockbuster card that says Mark Samore.
There you go.
I find those things so funny.
Yeah, no.
So Stephen B. Deadly, Stephen B. Dandy. No, he's just Stephen B. Danley.
Yep, man.
Have you ever gotten Stephen B. Manley?
No. But I guess Deadly will be, that'll suffice.
Yep. I've got a nice email, too, from sort of a blast from the past name. He used to post as Youthberg on the forums.
Yeah.
And he has a huge 2-1B focus, so hopefully we can talk to him.
Right.
He said he was very disappointed not to hear from Alex Slater. That's a
no.
pretty common refrain. How come we didn't talk to him? But
second opinion episode. We got to remember that.
That's right. But he said that he had been sort of away from collecting for a while, but that part of the reason was because of the podcast. So.
Oh. Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Part of the reason he came back.
Okay.
Part of the reason he left.
My first reason, like, man, we have caused people to run away.
Yeah, you don't have to listen, People know that. The second we said the word baseball, a whole bunch of people just scrambled to their thing and changed it over to whatever else they were listening to.
Yeah.
And let's see, we got a lot more here. Let's see, we sort of have a bunch of stories. And
okay.
I'm thinking, maybe we should sort of save that as like a little segment.
Okay.
Because we have sort of a story from, a guy named Mark and a guy named Sam, and interesting stuff about like sort of times as a kid, and some really cool stories about like reading books and stuff. I don't think I have the energy to deliver those stories with the time and care they deserve.
Okay. Why don't we package them together?
Package them together, and we'll also put that out there. If you're a listener and if you have sort of a cool sort of vintage story, I always get afraid of them being too syrupy. You know what I mean? Of being too much like, oh boy, I love playing with my toys. But it never is. They're always interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the SpaghettiOs story tells it all.
Oh yeah.
There's always something there that goes beyond, oh, it was Christmas morning and I opened up the toy.
Yeah.
So feel free to send those in to kivecast@gmail.com. And we'll read those all along. So you can hear I'm losing my voice.
Yeah.
Another comment from the Dark Artist.
Oh, yeah.
Who also sent me, he is an artist, he sent me a link to some of his art, so maybe we'll feature that too. And he said that the Ice show was the best show he's ever heard. But then he also said, I honestly thought there was no inner circle. I believe I was wrong. I'd love an invitation next time. Frowny face. But, hey, you know what, Dark Artist? There's going to be Celebration 7. We're going to have an archive party. And that's just a big circle with a Dark Artist right in the middle of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can only imagine how insane it's going to be for the second time around.
Oh, yeah. No, we really got to get cracking on that, Steve.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
we need a true planning committee. That's not us.
Yeah, especially that's not me. Putting me in charge of, like, calling the caterer and stuff, that is just a bad plan.
I'm just going to call in, like, 10 taco trucks and
oh, beauty.
Call it at that, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Was there any other feedback you wanted to get to, Steve?
I think a lot of people said they really enjoyed the last episode. Someone I think said more than the last 2 or 3, and I think it's just because you have so many other voices on there. It's just, it was breaking the mold a little bit. We need to do that as often as we can, and it is tough, but in that particular circumstance, it was like gold. You had everybody right there. You could just bring them into the stitch room and let them give their spiel, which is, I wish we could do that all the time.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's good to kind of get back on our normal track here, and we got a long way to go. So
we certainly do. Yeah. All right. Well, Steve, as of this time next month, the championship will be decided in fantasy baseball.
Right.
And it will not be either of us.
No.
So, there you go.
See, I already know I'm in last place, but I can't confirm because the app on my phone kind of crapped out, so I just stopped checking it.
Yeah. It's probably good, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm going to finish probably out of the top half. And so there you go, guys. You can just wait next month
for
hockey talk with Steve. What quarter is it? The periods. What period is it? Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. We will look forward to hearing your wonderful stories and talking about the Asian security guard.
That's right. I think it's going to be a good one.
All right. Wampa wampa.
Adios.
Yeah, it's about that time. Yeah, it's about that time to wrap it up, you know what I'm saying? Once again, I said I go by the name of DJ Premier, Awesome 2, Special K, Teddy 10. Big up to Biggest Gord, my man Big Black, Brooklyn style, you heard? Also the world famous M.O.P. And last but not least, I can't forget my partner in crime, Guru of Gang Star, forever, baby.
No doubt, SWCA 1-2 want to big up all the underground radio cats and all the pirate radio cats for keeping it real. No doubt, Hip Hop Collabo, Collective, Rap 3. Peace, y'all.
I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for a very lovely evening. Never have so few owed so much to so many. Good night.